Welcome to ShovelTalk, a podcast for economic developers. From your friends at the Golden Shovel Agency.
Hello and welcome back to ShovelTalk. After a winter hiatus that extended into a long spring break, we are back. A new sourcing process has us super excited to reboot this pod. I am Darren Varley, and you may be hearing some different voices on the pod from time to time, and we also have a new process for sourcing our guests. So again, we're excited to reboot this. We're back, we're refreshed, and we're ready to go. But like usual, we do want to know first, where in the world is Amanda?
Hello, thanks for the intro, Darren. So where am I in the world? I am still in California. So I actually got back from Poland in November. So it's been almost 6 months. I can't believe it. But I'm actually taking a break from traveling and getting back to a few of the things I was doing prior to leaving a couple years ago. I just judged the rodeo parade for Red Bluff. Red Bluff is in Tama County, one of our client communities and my hometown. And then I also just spent 4 days as the voice of the Tama District Fair, which was an absolute blast. If you're not familiar with the voice of the fair, it's basically the person who narrates the fair experience for all the fairgoers, announces events happening, does promos for different acts and things throughout the days of the fair. So it was so much fun, and I'm having a blast getting back to those things I was doing prior to leaving. So enough about me. Let's get to the podcast.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. All right. Let's kick off 2023. Although it may be a bit late, let's pass it off to Bethany and meet NeTia Bauman, CEO of the Greater Fergus Falls Economic Development Group up in northern Minnesota, just in time for lake season. Pass it off to NeTia and Bethany, or is it Linda?
Well, hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here today with NeTia Bauman, who is the CEO of Greater Fergus Falls. Welcome, NeTia.
Thank you, Bethany. It's great to be here.
Would you tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are and your organization and where you're located?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am NeTia Bauman. I'm the CEO here at Greater Fergus Falls, and we are a nonprofit economic development organization that serves Fergus Falls, Minnesota. We are a regional center located in west central Minnesota. So we're, less than an hour from the Fargo-Moorhead area and less than 2 hours from the St. Cloud area, right off of the I-94 corridor. So we're really in the heart of lakes country. We've got like 1,000 lakes in our county alone. So summer is getting exciting here with summer coming.
Oh, for sure. So do you fish? Do you have a boat? How do you use those million lakes or 1,000 lakes? Excuse me.
Yes. Yeah, our family does have a lake place. We're fortunate. So I love paddleboarding. Try to get out as often as I can, boating, of course, on the weekends. But, my family, they fish, but I just like to paddleboard. So
nice. I've always wanted to try that. I've heard it's a really good workout.
It really is. Yes. The first few times you'll be a little sore, but you'll adjust.
Nice. Okay. Well, when I go and try it, I'll ask you for some tips.
Okay.
So one of the things that we like to do, obviously, is to learn about economic developers and their journey. So, what did you do before you came to economic development? Because it's been our experience that while few people go to school for it, most take a bit of a winding path. And I did see that you were a lead researcher and training coordinator at North Dakota State University, which is very interesting. How have those research skills benefited you in economic development?
Yeah, well, I think, I had no interest in economic development as a kid or high school or even in college. It was something that I found a passion for after college, of course. But the research side of things has definitely benefited me in this position today. One thing that I actually did when I started working for Greater Fergus Falls is get involved with the Minnesota Compass program. So that's a wilder research organization, and that has really helped me learn how to, analyze data, of course, and locate, demographic data. And that is really critical for site selection. And that's something that we, work on as well. That, and I do I work with InPlan so that we can do economic impact analyses for, projects, for incentives, things of that nature. I find that it's best to be more more data driven to help, inform decision making. And so those research skills certainly have come in handy.
Yeah, I'm sure. And when it comes to data right now, things are changing so rapidly. So what tips do you have for other people to make sure that what you're working on is, I guess, as accurate and relevant, as timely as it can be?
Sure. So I would just really leverage the resources that we have. Here in Minnesota, obviously we have Minnesota Deed. So depending on what type of data you're looking for, whether it's workforce or others, they've got some really excellent tools. So if you are not aware of who your regional coordinator is, reach out and find out. They are incredible resources to have. Also, I'll just reference Minnesota Compass, go to and use that tool. They have a really incredible build your own profile for your community. It can be your community. You can draw circles around it. So maybe, you have a 25-mile service area outside of your community like we do. It really helps pull the most accurate data possible. And they pull from 3 different national services. So just making sure that you have most up-to-date data, I think, is really critical.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that tip. We always hope people get some best practices out of these podcasts. So totally different ballpark, but you were a theater director. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what kind of theater? Tell us more.
So in high school, I was very into theater. I loved it. I think I earned a Best Actress award for a Shakespeare play my senior year. And so, so I was kind of that theater geek, I guess. And then my hometown, very small community. So I was working at NDSU at the time, but they needed a new theater director. And so I just kind of jumped in to fill that need. And so it was mostly high school. Then we kind of expanded it to include children. So summer theater programming. And then I even did a little bit of community theater as well.
So what was your favorite production?
My favorite production. I would say in children, Willy Wonka, because, there was a bunch of little 5-year-olds who were dressed up as Oompa Loompas, and what's more adorable than that?
Oh, that's cute. And
high school, I think, the murder mystery plays are always fun. So there was one called Murder with a Chance of Pasta or something. Those were pretty fun.
So our daughters one of them is in middle school and just completed the SpongeBob Junior musical. She was Gary. So she had a lot of fun with her snail costume. And then another one of them was just in The Lion King. She was a hyena.
Okay, great.
So we're all about the theater over here.
Yeah, it's a great way, I think it helps kids especially build confidence. They can come out of their shell a bit. They get to have fun and pretend to be somebody they're not. But I think that helps them really develop the person that they will eventually become too. So that's great.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it does require a bit of bravery to be someone who's willing to go up on stage. So, you talked about yourself that you as a kid were a theater geek, I think you called yourself. So you obviously had those same experiences. And, it feels to me like your career maybe reflects a little bit of that bravery. I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff that you've done, and I was really impressed with the entrepreneur initiatives that you're doing and how you're really helping women in particular to be brave, to be bold, to go out there and start their own ventures. So tell us more about that. That's been a really exciting development.
Yes. So in March of 2020, so literally the week before the world shut down, we launched what we call an entrepreneur initiative. So we provide free and confidential one-on-one business coaching. Originally, it was intended for emerging or early stage entrepreneurs, but because the pandemic hit when it did, it really opened up the door and showed us that even existing business owners, some were 25-year veteran business owners, right? And they needed help too. So we were able to shift that program. But what that's really taught us, we're going on 3 years now of that program. Our first year, we served 37 clients. And each year since that, we've doubled. So today, I think we've served over 200 local entrepreneurs. And I think it's important to note that, our community, it's rural. We're 14,000 or just over 14,000. So to have 200 local entrepreneurs go through that program to start or scale their business, I think that's really huge. Incredible. And
that's
so
203 years.
Yes, 203 years. And 200 out of those 200, 70 have successfully started their own businesses. And that's resulted in at least 250 new jobs. And, even though I think we're shifting, we don't need to necessarily be creating more jobs. We need to be filling our existing jobs, right? I still think that is really important because that mirrors what we're seeing nationally. Small businesses, startups, they're the job drivers right now. And yes, you mentioned women. We're really excited about the statistic. Over 70% of our entrepreneurs served are female.
That's awesome.
Yes, so things are trending
Oh, yeah.
in a different direction. So it's great.
Yeah, I actually read an article and it was titled "Business is Booming in Fergus Falls and It's Women Leading the Way," which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that was one of so Jenny Christensen, who owns Penny Cakes, it's a dessert trailer. She was one of our very first, she was actually one of our trial entrepreneurs when we were piloting the program. And, she came to us and had this dream of owning a cupcake truck. And she was very new to the community. So we kind of scaled that back a little bit. And, her goal was within 5 years, she wanted to own this truck. And we, put her through the program. And one thing that is really popular in our community too is pop-ups. So giving people space, existing businesses, we actually have our own pop-up space now here because it's been so beneficial. But, she started doing, once a month pop-ups, and then it became once a week. And then it was every day at a dedicated storefront downtown.
Yeah.
Within a year, she had her own commercial kitchen. So she had a bakery case where she had, that day-to-day presence. And then within 2 years, she was able to start her food truck. And, so now, she expedited that process by 3 years. And now she's in multiple locations and doing really well. And something really exciting about her story specifically is that from the time before she started doing pop-ups to, I think it was within 6 months, her revenue increased 2,900%.
Wow.
Just from, so I think that's really incredible.
Yeah, that's a huge success story. And I guess the pop-up concept is interesting because did that really even take much money to get started?
Well, no. And so, one thing that I think we really pride ourselves on because of the level of technical assistance and business coaching that we have been providing, when we started, so our organization is going to be celebrating 5 years. So we're fairly new. So, when we started, there were 21 vacant storefronts in our 3-block stretch of downtown. We had 4 shuttered big box stores. Today we have 4 empty storefronts.
Wow.
And almost all of them are new business owners that have either come through our program or somehow, we've been associated with them and indirectly supported them. And a few of those downtown property owners had extra space. They were either, they had a retail storefront and they had a little corner of their store that they opened up and made available. So some of them offered it for free. Some were like, hey, $25 a day to rent my space,
Mm-hmm.
And that was really important because all they needed were, a few shelves. And, we do a lot of marketing and advertising on their behalf just to get them introduced to these markets. And yeah, it really took off. So yeah, it is very affordable to start a pop-up.
Yeah. And I want to go back to what you said, because those are phenomenal numbers. So just so everyone can hear this again, you had 5 years ago, 21 vacant storefronts downtown and 4 empty big box stores. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was just in 3 blocks. And now you only have 4 vacant spaces.
Yep. And 2 of them, honestly, are really, property owners that they're occupied. They're just not interested in opening them up for, to lease or sell. So, I mean, we can't do much about that other than, softly encourage them every once in a while. And then our big boxes, 3 of the 4 have been redeveloped as well. So over 200,000 square feet have been redeveloped. And again, all local. And I think that is really an important point to touch on too, is that, we really need to cultivate the local interest and investment in your community rather than going outside and trying to attract new people.
Yeah, it was actually something that stood out when I was preparing for this podcast recording is, you had talked about entrepreneur-led growth, and it's very clear that your strategy of growing from within has produced incredible results. Again, 21 vacant, now there's only 4. No one can argue with those numbers. 200 businesses have gone through your program in 3 years, 250 jobs created. So the proof is obviously there, but that is a different approach than traditional economic development, which leans more heavily on attraction, trying to bring in investment, trying to bring in more larger projects. So do you feel like your approach is a total departure, or do you see them working together in a symbiotic fashion?
Well, I think that you need to have a healthy balance of all of the above, right? I mean, in economic development, we say there are 3 legs, right? Historically, we've put significant effort toward the business attraction and retention side, and for very good reason. But the 3rd leg, and that's entrepreneurship, where the growth is, that I think that needed attention. And it doesn't necessarily work in every community, but for us, that's what we really needed. We needed to rebuild our economy from the ground up. And if we could leverage that local level support and provide those resources, expand access to resources, capital, to really cultivate the entrepreneurial spirit that we knew we had here in our community. And look what, we've accomplished with just doing that. Now, when we do have, business retention and expansion or business attraction efforts, we haven't let that go to the wayside either. We're certainly still doing work on that, to that end as well. But now when we have site selectors that are coming in, they see a thriving downtown. They don't see these shuttered big box stores. They see that there's interest locally. So if people locally are interested in investing in their own communities and growing their own, I think it makes them, it's just much more marketable to outside investors and other site selectors. So for us, I think it was really important to lay the groundwork, right? We had to, I guess, relay the groundwork for us to be more attractive to outside investment.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And basically what you're talking about is you need to invest in yourself and believe in yourself before you're able to get other people to do so.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into this, because if I'm an economic developer listening, I have several questions for you. And I think one of them is going to be, okay, great, you put this initiative together to help entrepreneurs. How did you actually get people interested in participating? Because that has been an issue in some communities. They put out resources, but people just are not taking advantage of them. What did you do?
So I think that that's still an issue everywhere. And I think that's still an issue for us here too. We could support many more entrepreneurs. We're doing fine. We're at a very comfortable rate. I think we average maybe 8 or 9 new entrepreneurs every month coming through. And, it really depends on what the business is. Is it something, is it a brick and mortar retail, something that we can start a bit more easier, at a faster rate than, say, a tech startup? We don't have a lot of that happening right now. And that's something that we're really looking to, to shift into. But for us, it was really about trial and error, of course. So we had a few, I think it was 3. We started with 3 local entrepreneurs. We really spent more time on them, focusing on them, telling their stories. And that's really what it's about. There's something to be said about the ability to storytelling, right? Storytelling is really important. So that's one piece that we have integrated into our programming as well, is not just helping them get established, but telling their story and getting them connected to the community. So for us, it's all about building relationships and strengthening those relationships, So we had those 3 first entrepreneurs, and then we shared their story, and then they told other people, and then other business owners said, hey, look what they're doing. And then they started telling other people. And honestly, it was a lot of work. And then even other economic development organizations saw what we were doing and they reached out, and it's about building those partnerships. And now we're one of the partners with Greater St. Cloud under the Launch Minnesota initiative. So then that opened the door, that really expanded the resources that we had available to us as well. So now we implemented not just the traditional business coaching where we're working on business plans, pro formas, those kinds of things. Now we've got a leg up with a lean canvas startup training. ILT Academy does an excellent job with that. And so we became an early adopter of that, brought them on board. It's really about collaborating, taking chances, and really just building that expansive network of support so that if I can't help somebody, I know someone who can. And that's what it's about, is being able to connect and having that integrity, do what you say that you're going to do. And after you do that a few times, people really start, they buy into it, and then they tell everyone else. I mean, right now, the majority of our incoming entrepreneurs that we're supporting, they were referred to us by previous entrepreneurs that we've helped. So it's a snowball effect, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's fantastic, because obviously their experience was so positive that they want to talk about it and refer others. You mentioned storytelling. Obviously, that's one of our passions at Golden Shovel. We feel so strongly about that, because if you can't tell stories, you can't make connections. Data is not enough. Facts aren't enough. You have to really personalize what you're doing. So that's fantastic that you've been able to incorporate it. Now, when entrepreneurs come in, obviously, another common challenge is funding, right? I mean, you help them with the business plan, you can help them with marketing, but how do they get funding to actually build out their space and buy their inventory? Do you have local funding mechanisms, or are you relying on SBA loans? How did you approach that?
Again, I think that depends on the entrepreneur and the type of business, right? So I think that it's really important for economic developers to be leveraging all of those resources. What we have locally, and it's always different, right? Every community is a bit different. So here we do have quite a few different low interest loan programs through our city. And we are very fortunate to have a West Central initiative that is headquartered in our community. So the Initiative Foundation for West Central, they serve 9 counties. So it's not just focused on Fergus Falls, but they are headquartered here. And they also offer low interest loan programs. We've got enough banks and churches here to support the community. So there is really no shortage of traditional financing options for people. But ultimately, the city low interest loan programs, those are really gap financing, right? So what we do, on the front end is help them with a financial preparedness piece. So it goes beyond just the pro formas, helping them with cash flow analysis. We want them to be sustainable going forward. We're not in the business of just helping them start a business. We want and then watch them fail, in 1-2 years. We want them to succeed for the long term. And so that's another piece of it. But what we will do is help them. I mean, we'll guide them step by step. We're there. We're kind of that liaison either between the lenders, between city staff that are underwriting the loans. We also assist with the grant writing and get them connected to like state level initiatives. So, sometimes we've got a manufacturer, for example, right, who needs to expand. They might be fairly new. We've got one that's just a few years old and they're already moving into growth stage. So we're helping them with the job creation fund application through Deed. We've done that with redevelopment grants, things of that nature, because for the day-to-day business person, they're excellent at their craft, at the service that they provide, but they don't have the time or the capacity or necessarily the expertise to navigate some of those very rigorous application processes, right? So that's where we come in and just at least provide guidance, and sometimes a little bit more, just depending on who, but that, and I guess really advocating for incentive programs or subsidies. So tax increment financing, that can obviously be very contentious depending on where you're at. And for us, that's something that we've been able to really leverage and use successfully in our community, especially over the last 5 years. It has helped us seal many really excellent deals, especially redevelopment. For us, it was important to focus on that infill, right? Redeveloping some of those blighted properties that we had before, building new, of course. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without the support and approval of, TIF and abatement, things of that
Sure.
nature. And so really educating the public, not just the public, but the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the investors, developers on all of those resources and guiding them and really just kind of being that liaison between them, I think has been really helpful here.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, I mean, those things can be incredibly complex and time consuming for entrepreneurs. So it's good to have that hands-on support. Now, another thing I know that you just started is the Foundry. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So the feedback that we received from our entrepreneur initiative clients was, it's great, we love it, but we want more. We want peer-to-peer mentoring, we want that like a higher level of ongoing support. And what we really wanted to accomplish was to create a hub of economic activity in our downtown. Downtowns are really the heart of your economy, I think, especially in a local, a rural community like ours. And so we had an opportunity for a really great space, and this idea had been percolating for quite some time. And it was really, the timing was just ideal last year for us to start this process. So we established the Foundry, which is a hybrid co-working and entrepreneur center. We have a small accelerator program, and then also dedicated pop-up retail space because we have phenomenal storefront windows. We give every emerging entrepreneur, home-based micro enterprise an opportunity to have their own downtown storefront for a day, a weekend, on one at a time or on a recurring basis at a very affordable rate. This really has helped them be able to try it before they buy it, right? They can go and introduce themselves as a new business, maybe shift product lines, build their demographic, and then what's most important though is that they can try that and see if this would be a good fit before they go and commit to a really expensive long-term lease for their own storefront, right? We don't want them to fail. So this is a really great opportunity for them, and that has been really important. Also, so just on the other side of things, coworkers, whether they're startups themselves and they need a space to work, we've got a lot of remote workers now, especially after the pandemic, traveling consultants, professionals of that nature too, that come in and utilize the space. And so this was an opportunity for them to have a space, a physical brick and mortar location where they can come and connect and collaborate. And that was really critical, especially after the pandemic. Everybody was virtual for so long, right? They just really wanted to get connected to people. And so they do that here. We do a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring. We have entrepreneur mastermind sessions every month, and those are led by entrepreneurs, curated by content requested by entrepreneurs as well. And that's an opportunity for them to give back and train others too, and inspire and motivate emerging entrepreneurs. So the space has been we opened in October, and so we're about 6 months in, and things are really going strong. It's been very well received here.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think something unique that you said too is the fact that you do have it in a downtown space where there are storefronts.
Mm-hmm.
That's rather rare for an incubator or co-working space to actually be able to have some retail presence downtown. So that's a fantastic idea and a great use of space for anyone who's listening who does have empty downtown buildings.
Absolutely. And, it does take a bit for it to cash flow, of course, but we had, we've got some really great support. We were just talking about access to capital. It's, again, about relationship building. If you've done some of this work and have some proven successes, we found that, investors were really receptive to this idea of, all right, well, we're just going to help you out here and offset some of the cost. We built relationships with local providers. So our local fiber company provides all free Wi-Fi for us. We've got free printing. We have a coffee roastery that provides all the free coffee. So that way we don't have to pass on higher membership rates to users of this space. So yeah, it's been a really exciting experience so far.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's great that your business community is so supportive of new and aspiring entrepreneurs as well. So we have talked obviously a lot about entrepreneurism. Is there anything else that you think is happening in Greater Fergus Falls that is really inspiring and might be of interest to our listeners?
So something I guess that we've been working on for quite some time is, I mentioned, our downtown a few years ago, we had 21 vacant storefronts, right? There are a lot of different nonprofit organizations that are really working together to, I guess, reimagine and help others understand the assets that we have here. So we have the Otter Tail River that runs right through our downtown. And for many years, it was just really underutilized. And over the last few years, we've underwent a downtown revitalization. So there's a downtown, we have a downtown master plan, and 2 years ago, we broke ground on phase 1. So we have a new farmers market structure and a park that runs right alongside our river. And today, actually, we are breaking ground on phase 2. So there will be a splash pad and an additional park and art installment that will go on the other side of it. And that's really exciting. We've got a few new craft breweries that have popped up along the river. And one thing that is really exciting is we have an old flour mill company. So like 1800s, it's on the historic registry. And we have spent years working on this, and they actually broke ground 2 weeks ago. They are going to be redeveloping that into a boutique hotel, and that is right along the river as well. So there's a lot of exciting activity happening here along our riverfront. So if you have a riverfront, whether it's downtown or not, really, get to work and start leveraging it, treat it as the asset that it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that hotel looks like. That's a really cool redevelopment project. Yeah. And I do hear a lot of people talk about redeveloping their riverfront. So I think it's good to keep in mind that momentum is possible. And again, it's like you said, in finding investors locally who also see that vision.
Yeah, that's really important. And, for us, the riverfront, it's not necessarily a local developer. He's from the region, of course. But, sometimes you do have to go outside, and that's okay. But it's a nice combination because, we've got local level support, state support, and then private investment as well. So a really great project that epitomizes the value of public-private partnerships.
That's awesome. Well, I do hope that you share it with us when the project all comes together, because we'd love to take a look at it.
I will.
So for anyone who's listened to our podcast, you know that we do a shovel toss game at the end. So that means I'm going to ask you a bunch of rapid fire questions that are totally random, off the wall, and have zero to do with economic development. Are you ready?
Now or never.
Now or never. All right, here we go. Okay, your worst hairstyle ever.
Oh my gosh. So I was very adventurous in high school with my hair. I mean, I've had my head shaved even. So I would say that unfortunately in high school, I thought that manic panic hair dye was my best friend.
Nice.
So I think I overused the purple. I don't remember the fun name of it, but manic panic, purple hair dye.
All right, purple.
Not a hairstyle, but very purple.
Purple it is. All right, best song of all time.
Oh my gosh, best song of all time. That's a challenge. Oh my gosh. I can't give you one. I can give you my all-time favorite band.
Okay, do that. Do that instead.
Okay, Nirvana.
Oh, it's a good one. Okay, so I jammed out to Nirvana, and all my friends had cover bands when I was in school. I'm with you. All right, favorite vacation destination.
So where I've been, I would say Maui, hands down. Mm-hmm.
Book you're reading right now.
So I am an avid Stephen King fan. I have 70% of his entire collection. So working on that. I am currently in the middle of it's called Wendy's Button Box. It's a series. So I think I'm halfway through the second.
Okay. All right. Something you wish you had never worn.
Something I wish I would have never worn. Oh my gosh. Early 2000s low-rise jeans.
Yeah, those had to go. All right. The weirdest food you've ever eaten.
Well, remember, I'm from a very rural community, and my father-in-law, he one time, he was always making random things, and he told me it was chicken soup, so I tried it, and it was actually a turtle. It was turtle meat.
Oh, wow.
But it did taste like chicken.
Thanks, father-in-law. All right. Turtle meat tastes like chicken. I learned something new today. Okay. Who's your role model?
Oh, my role model would definitely be my grandmother. Yeah, she was just always a very strong, independent woman. She had her own business, and I think that's where I first was really, intrigued by business. So yeah, definitely her.
All right. Okay. Funniest nickname.
Funniest nickname. So my name is NeTia, right? And most people cannot say it right. So people just gave me random nicknames all the time, from the time I was a child to even still today. So I'm just going to say Linda because
Linda, okay.
It's my takeout name because nobody, if you call and order takeout or you go to Starbucks and order coffee, I'm just tired of spelling my name and having them mispronounce it. So I just say that my name is Linda.
Okay, so I have to ask a follow-up question, which is not part of the game, but have you ever had anyone then see you in the street and be like, hey, Linda?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, if you were a superhero, who would you be and why?
Okay, so I love science. So sci-fi. Do you remember a show in the early 2000s? It was called Heroes.
Don't think I watched that one.
All right, so it's basically people, like regular people that developed, superhuman powers. I would say my favorite guy was, his name is Peter. He had the ability to replicate the powers of other people. So like, what is it called? Like reactive adaptation. So he could adapt to his environment. So if he was underwater, he could grow gills and swim. If he was falling out of a tree, he could fly. So I think that'd be cool.
Okay, that would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to be remembered for? Final question.
Oh my gosh. I guess just being able to motivate people and, make them believe in themselves. I think that's something that's really important. What's really rewarding for me in this role is that I get people that come in and say, hey, I've got this wild idea. I don't think it's possible. But then I'm able to give them the tools or help them realize that they can do it and just set them on their way and guide them through that. And then they do it and they're successful with it. And I think that that's really important, is to have people who can, be your ambassador or your advocate when you don't believe in yourself. So I think just, the fact that I think that I do have that innate ability is just to help people believe in themselves. I think that's important.
That's awesome. And your work definitely is a reflection on that. So if you want to be remembered for motivating people and helping them achieve their dreams, I think you're well on your way. Linda, just kidding. NeTia, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really enjoyed getting to know you and just learning more about the culture that you've helped to create in Fergus Falls. I think it's a fantastic success story, and I have a feeling we're going to be hearing more from you.
Great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, Bethany.
Thank you, Bethany. And we are back. ShovelTalk is back in 2023. Before we sign off here, we do have to take care of some golden shovel business like usual. Just launched a new white paper, an economic developer's complete guide to marketing and SEO strategies. This should have arrived in your inbox if you're on our email list. If not, you can go to goldenshovelagency.com. Nice little pop-up will occur and you can download it there. This comprehensive guide is designed to help economic developers like you navigate the complex world of digital marketing and search engine optimization to attract businesses, investors, and talent to your community. So check that one out. Also, we got to tag the social accounts. Like us on Facebook at ShovelToss. Follow us on Twitter at Gold Shovel. Follow us on LinkedIn, Golden Space Shovel. And subscribe to us on YouTube, Golden Shovel Agency. All right, we've been off for a bit. We got a lot of great news that we're going to fill you in on in upcoming pods. We should have a lot of pods firing at you soon. Like I mentioned in the opener, our new sourcing process has us overloaded with guest opportunities, which was a bit of our problem. In the beginning, that kind of put us on hold for a bit. So we are back in action, and these pods should be dropping much more quickly than they did in the past. So stay tuned to your Shovel Talk feed, and we'll be back soon with another episode of Shovel Talk. Thanks for listening.